When the numbers 4, 11, 19, 23, 34, and the Powerball 7 flashed on the screen of my cheap apartment, I didn't scream. My heart simply stopped. In my hand, I was clutching a crumpled lottery ticket bought at a gas station with my last $2. I had just won $10 million. Looking down at my worn-out sneakers and the holes in the wallpaper, I was absolutely certain that all my life's problems were solved forever. I was just an ordinary guy, Mark, 28, working 12-hour shifts as a mechanic for pennies. This ticket was supposed to be my salvation. If I had only known that true safety died the exact second my name became public. In the United States, the laws are brutal and unyielding. You cannot claim a massive jackpot anonymously in my state. My name, my face, and the photograph of me holding a giant cardboard check were plastered across every local newspaper and television station within 24 hours. And that was the exact moment the real nightmare began. At first, it was just the phone calls. Hundreds of calls from distant relatives I had never met, from high school bullies who used to torture me, from fake charities and shady financial investors. Every single one of them was demanding, begging or crying into the receiver, claiming that I was morally obligated to share my good luck. My quiet, invisible life turned into a living hell. Strangers started showing up at my house, standing under my windows and waiting for me outside my door. I had to quit my job because people were swarming the auto shop, demanding money from my boss just to get to me. But the most terrifying thing happened a week later. My mother, who lived alone in the suburbs, called me in the middle of the night in pure panic. Someone had broken into her home while she was asleep, torn her living room apart, and left a note on the kitchen table made of cut-out newspaper letters. 10 million is too much for two people. Share, or we take it all. I realized then that the money hadn't freed me. It had turned my family into targets for every psychopath and criminal in the state. Terrified for my mother's life, I used my first installment of the money to buy an isolated, fortress-like mansion in an elite gated community. I hired a private security firm, installed high-end cameras, motion sensors, and reinforced steel doors. I took my mother away from her old house and locked us inside this luxury cage. I thought that behind 3-meter concrete walls and bulletproof glass, nobody could reach us. I stopped looking at my phone, blocked every single contact from my past, and changed my legal name. Paranoia became my shadow. Every time a car slowed down near our security gates, my hands would start shaking. Every time a delivery drone flew over our yard, I felt like someone was spying on us. I couldn't sleep. I spent my nights sitting in front of the surveillance monitors in my living room, watching the infrared camera feeds of the empty perimeter. My mother's health began to deteriorate rapidly due to the stress and isolation. She felt like a prisoner in a golden cell. But the worst realization was that you cannot lock out the people who are paid to protect you. One evening, while reviewing the digital access logs of my security system, I noticed something strange. The motion sensors in the subterranean garage had been manually deactivated for 40 minutes the previous night. When I checked the internal backup server, I discovered that the security guards I was paying $10,000 a week to protect me were digging through my trash, taking photos of my bank statements, and selling my private location details to local tabloid journalists and criminal tracking forums online. The wolves weren't outside the gates. I had invited them inside. I fired the entire security team immediately and locked the house down myself, refusing to let anyone cross the threshold. But the damage was already done. 2 days later, a heavy, unmarked black envelope was slid under my front gate. Inside was a thumb drive and a printout of my private bank accounts, including the exact location of my mother's daily medical facility. The digital files on the drive contained high-resolution covert photographs of my mother walking in the garden, taken from a long-distance sniper lens. Along with the photos was an audio recording. A distorted, calm voice spoke, "You have 10 million, Mark. We only want 3. If you don't transfer the crypto to this wallet by Friday, your mother will have a fatal accident on her way to the clinic. Don't go to the police. We own the local precinct." I felt like the walls of my beautiful mansion were collapsing on me. I couldn't trust the police because the town was small, and the Walker's security firm had deep connections with the local sheriff. I realized that my wealth had made me completely helpless. I had all this money in the bank, but I couldn't use it to buy peace or safety. I spent 48 hours staring at the countdown timer on the extortionist website, my mind racing. I decided to pay them, thinking that if I gave them the $3 million, they would leave us alone forever. I converted the cash into untraceable Bitcoin and sent it to the address. But as anyone who understands criminals knows, extortion never stops at the first payment. The moment the transaction cleared, a new message popped up on my screen. "Good job, Mark. Now let's talk about the remaining $7 million. They were going to bleed me dry, dollar by dollar, until I had nothing left but my fear. I was desperate, trapped, and losing my mind from sleep deprivation. That's when my older brother Leo showed up at my gates. I hadn't spoken to him in 5 years because he was a heavy gambler who had stolen money from our mother in the past. But tonight, he looked clean, sober, and genuinely terrified for us. He told me he heard about the break-in at Mom's old house and the media frenzy. He begged me to let him help, saying he could act as an intermediary, hire an elite, licensed security detail from another state, and handle the offshore accounts to hide the remaining money where no local criminal could track it. In my broken state, looking at my own flesh and blood, I broke my golden rule. I opened the gates, I let him in. For 3 days, Leo was a savior. He managed the logistics, brought food, and helped console our terrified mother. I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. I trusted him so much that I gave him access to my secondary financial terminal to set up the secure asset protection trust we discussed. But on the 4th night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to a strange silence in the house. The backup generator beeped, indicating a main power cut. I walked into the kitchen and found my mother lying unconscious on the floor, a half-empty glass of water next to her. She had been heavily drugged with sleeping pills. I rushed to the office. The safe was wide open, and my laptop was gone. Leo was gone too. On the desk, he had left my old, crumpled lottery ticket with a note written in his own handwriting. "Thanks for the inheritance, brother. You never deserved to win anyway. Don't look for me, the wolves are already on their way to clean up the rest." He hadn't come to save me. He was the one who had organized the extortion from the very beginning, using his knowledge of our family to orchestrate the entire nightmare. I stood over my unconscious mother, the sirens of the ambulance I called echoing in the far distance through the dense forest surrounding our community. My brother had stolen over $5 million, leaving me with just enough to pay off the remaining extortionists who were now hunting me down because Leo had left them unpaid. I looked at the luxury mansion around me, with its high ceilings, Italian marble, and bulletproof glass. This house wasn't an asset. It was a beacon for greed, a physical monument to the day my life was destroyed. I realized that as long as I had a single dollar left from that lottery jackpot, my mother and I would never be free. The money was an infection, and it was killing us. I didn't wait for the extortionists to arrive, and I didn't wait for Leo's criminal friends to clean up the rest. I grabbed my mother, loaded her into our car, and left the mansion wide open. Before driving away, I logged into my final emergency bank application on my phone and initiated a total liquidation. I didn't transfer the money to another account. I legally donated every single remaining cent, all $2 million, to a public, uncancelable state victim compensation fund, ensuring my name was scrubbed from the asset registries permanently. I chose to become poor again. Right now, we are driving down a dark interstate highway heading toward a nameless town in the west. We have nothing but 3 suitcases, an old car, and $50 in cash. My mother is slowly waking up in the passenger seat, looking confused, but finally breathing normally without fear. My life is ruined. My credit is destroyed, and my brother is the international fugitive. But as I look at the dark, empty road ahead, I smile for the first time in a year. The prompter on my dashboard reads zero balance. The target on our backs is finally gone. I lost everything, and it was the only way to save our lives.